Welcome back to Newswave Week in Review, where we're going to go back through all the different news waves, pick out obviously the bigger topics, and if you missed any of the news waves, you can kind of get caught up right here, and then we're also going to go through and look at some of your comments, so let's get into it. On Monday, we talked about Nintendo looking for more mature games from developers, as well as more cross-play games that will be compatible with the Xbox, the PC, and the Switch. Nintendo has reportedly been more open to mature games such as Galgun 2, and is actively seeking out these games to help build a diverse library for the system. Patek Luminita says, "We need more exclusive horror games for the Switch. That's what I hope Retro Studios is working on." You know, that's a good point. I kind of forgot about Retro Studios, much like I think most of us have. But man, what if Nintendo said, listen, you guys can go make whatever you want, because we know at this point it's a new IP of some kind, right? It's not going to be anything that we've seen before. It's just going to be something new. So it's hard to guess what it is they're working on, but the fact that they may have that kind of creative freedom to where they don't have to fall in line with even a teen-rated game or even an E-rated game. They can say, look, you have our blessing to make a mature-rated game, so creative freedom, you know, nothing's off the table, except for something that'll make an adult-rated game. I think they understand that, but you can do whatever you want. It can be a horror game that's violent, it could be an action-adventure game that's violent. You don't have to fit into this teen-rated box. You can do what you want. I would love to see that. How cool would that be if Retro had that kind of creative freedom? We've seen what they've done in the past with things they were given, things like Donkey Kong. Man, I would love to see what they can get done. Now we need to figure out when we're going to hear about it. We could hear about it as early as December, or more than likely we won't know what Retro Studios is working on probably till next year. Maybe at like the first Nintendo Direct of the year, we'll hear something about it. They might do one in like January. Just to get us caught up and let us know what's coming in 2018, just to get us all set up for what I'm sure will just be another run towards holiday season that year. On Tuesday, we discussed the UK sales charts and Evil Within 2 having a less than stellar release, and Doom finally had its release date revealed. The Evil Within 2 sold significantly less copies in the UK this time around, citing a 75% decrease at retail. Doom on the Switch will be releasing November 10th, a full week before Skyrim. Darth Distortion says, when Doom gets a release date before Rocket League, which was announced way before Doom. This is a great point. Doom is getting released before Skyrim even, and we don't even know when Rocket League is showing up. Now, there have been some speculation around why Rocket League is taking so long. A lot of people were saying that they are creating their own internal lobby system, much like, remember how NBA 2K18 came out, and we didn't have any way to invite friends. You can now, I believe, but when it first came out, you could not. I have a feeling that Psyonix is working on that with Panic Button to make sure that there is a full cross-play room set up. That's the thing. This is going to be a full cross-play game as well, which I'm sure is taking a little extra time in development. It sounds like the core game is done. I have seen some early impressions online of people saying it runs at 60 frames per second in handheld and in dock mode. That's awesome. The fact that Doom, though, is coming so early, which blows most of our minds, right? It's coming out before Skyrim. We knew about Skyrim when we found out about the Switch, right? It was in that same video. But I have a feeling because of the way Doom is set up, or it's more like a closed corridor type game, the testing phases were probably shorter than something like Skyrim, where it's so massive and large, and the testing phase probably takes a lot longer. Either way, all you know is, you know, on the 10th, you're going to get that, and then 7 days later, you'll be getting Skyrim. So it's like, man, back-to-back games. And then in that same week period, you also have L.A. Noire, and then some others popping up as well in the eShop. So it's going to be a tight squeeze on your wallet. On Wednesday, we talked about the unfortunate demise of Visceral Games Studio. EA announced that Visceral Games would be shut down, and the unnamed Star Wars game that was in development at Visceral would be moved and spread across multiple EA studios, with EA Vancouver taking the lead. The studio closing sent shockwaves through the gaming world as fans of the Dead Space series saw its creator get canned. Keck Burr says, Visceral got canned because they actually wanted to make a good game. They probably didn't have microtransactions planned for it. EA is the face of corporate greed in the gaming scene. So this is something that we're going to be speculating on probably forever unless a developer just comes out and says, no, that's not the case, this is what actually happened. According to people from Kotaku, Jason Schreier says it had nothing to do with it being a single-player game. According to him and sources internally there, it's had something to do with the game just being a mess. I can't say one way or the other. I do think, though, that if they didn't have microtransactions in mind, or a way for it to be a service-based game with the Star Wars name on it, which costs probably a good bit of money in licensing fees for EA to put out, I'm sure that contract they signed cost them a lot of money, because if you put the Star Wars name on something, it's going to sell even if it's terrible. But I have a feeling if there were no microtransactions planned, no extra revenue streams planned, and they really just wanted to make an Uncharted Star Wars type game, which sounds awesome, by the way, EA probably wasn't going to have it. And it sounds like if that's the case, they probably had to scrap most of it, and they'll use some of the assets. For the most part, though, it sounds like they're starting over, and this game might not come out until like 2020 or 2021. It might be one of the last games on the PS4 and the Xbox One at this rate. On Thursday, we talked about the Nintendo update that showed up for the Switch out of nowhere. This update enabled video capture for the previous 30 seconds of gameplay, as well as wireless USB headset compatibility. We also talked about Japanese developers expressing a lack of interest from Microsoft to bring Japanese-based games to the Xbox. Andrew Na says, let's remember, Microsoft first canceled Scalebound, developed by Platinum Games, then continued the project without them. When a Japanese dev team has the rug pulled from underneath of them, the community probably won't like it. Now, I think it's become pretty clear at this point that Microsoft is not continuing Scalebound, but the reason I picked this comment is because that second part, and it makes a lot of sense. When you set a precedence with other Japanese developers that they have no problem just canceling the game straight up if it's not going according to plan right away, and it doesn't seem like they want to keep working with it, especially a game like Scalebound. Who's to say that your game as a smaller Japanese developer wouldn't get canceled without a second thought? Because it sounds like Scalebound just wasn't working the way they wanted, so instead of maybe trying to work with it and get it figured out and spend some time with it, they just cut it right off. That was it. It wasn't, it was almost like Microsoft didn't even think about it. It was like, it's cut. That's that. We don't care. And I have a feeling that Japanese developers would see that as, well, there's no guarantee if we maybe want to develop something for the Xbox alongside Microsoft, and they just don't like it, they'll just cut it off, and that's that. So I understand what they're saying here. It probably kind of concerned a lot of Japanese developers, and the fact that Microsoft's not willing to work with them more in the background where they have minimum order requirements, things like that. Yeah, they're probably not jumping up and down to go develop for the Xbox. Microsoft really needs to be better if they really want these Japanese developers. Otherwise, they're just saying they want them without actually showing it. And finally, on Friday, we talked about the MPD rankings for Nintendo. While the official documents have been delayed until Monday, Nintendo released a statement saying the Switch was the top-selling hardware in the month of September. They went on to explain that with the Switch, 3DS, and Super Nintendo Classic sales adding up, they accounted for 2/3 of the console hardware scene. They also went on to give us game rankings during September with Metroid Samus Returns making it into the top 10 at number 8. David T says, you think sales are good now? Just wait till Odyssey hits. Then there's Pokemon. See, this is the thing I think a lot of people are forgetting. I think they're forgetting about how powerful Pokemon is. Pokemon is strong, or Pokemon, however you want to pronounce it. I say Pokemon, I guess. They're strong. The sales are very, very, very powerful. That's how the 3DS has really taken the lead over the Vita at the time, even the DS. You go back as far as the Game Boy being as powerful as it was, it's because Pocket Monsters or Pokemon came around and really helped move that system, and the DS didn't have to be as powerful as the PSP to take the lead because, well, it had that powerful IP, and now that powerful IP is moving to their home system. How do you think that's going to sell? Because it's still portable technically, so it still fits the Pocket Monsters mantra. So what do you think is going to happen now? The Switch is going to be out of control soon, especially when that Pokemon game comes out. If they can make it Christmas 2018, just get out of the way. Like, if they can get it out November 2018, it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to sell even better. Even if they have a ton of stock, it will be hard to find a Switch if Pokemon is on the market. We saw it with the 3DS, massive 3DS drought around the time Sun and Moon came out. It's going to be the same way with the Switch. So keep an eye on Pokemon. If you want to see an IP that will push Switches, and I'm not even kidding, more than Zelda, more than Mario, get ready, because when that first iteration of Pokemon shows up on their home console, it's going to be ridiculous. And finally, Digital Man says, why do people make a big fuss over being the first comment? Is there a cookie given out that I don't know about? Actually, yeah, every time you're the first comment on one of the videos, you actually get a cookie mailed to you. It's kind of like how, you know how with Sony, where you unlock like a platinum trophy, they actually mail you a platinum trophy? It's kind of like that. Wait, they don't mail you trophies? Why do people freak out about them then? Anyway, guys, that'll do it for Newswave Week in Review. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Make sure you comment on all of the videos throughout the week and like them and everything, because I will go through and pick comments as we go along throughout the week, and I might pick yours and respond to you. So thank you so much for watching and keeping up to date with Newswave throughout the week. I'll see you next weekend for more of Newswave Week in Review. Thanks, guys. I'll see you then.